what's next? What am I here for? And I wanted to share a way of looking at aging, at older adults, from what we call the active aging perspective. And I mention active aging in comparison to the way in which aging at the University of Hawaii and most of the universities on the mainland have generally been taught, and that is in terms of old people as being sick, old people as being chronically disabled, weak, and so on. So it's the sick care is very, very strong. But what I wanted to do was to turn it around a bit and focus on this active aging perspective. As was mentioned, I've been involved with elder care in Hawaii for about 40 years. I used to work at KupunaWiki Medical Center, developing some of the geriatric programs in Halekulama in the entire facility. And some of the programs that I was involved with basically focused on how do we create for Hawaii, for Honolulu, for Oahu, a service system so that we can continue to serve more and more older adults. What was happening over at KupunaWiki was that people were becoming older, faced with chronic disability, would land into a hospital because of some kind of a health problem, moved over into the nursing home part of KupunaWiki, and then because there were no services or enough services in the community, they couldn't step down to another level and move out of the facility. And so consequently, KupunaWiki was backed up with many, many older adults who were at the nursing home level of care taking up hospital beds. Okay, so this is a kind of a not a very good situation, because if we had a major earthquake, or not necessarily earthquake, let's say an incident over at the airport and we needed hundreds and hundreds of beds, KupunaWiki would not be able to help because those beds were occupied by people that didn't belong in the hospital. They belonged in a nursing home or in the community. But we didn't have those services, so I was basically hired to help develop that infrastructure in the community over 40 years. So some of that work was done there. And I also did some work over at a nursing home at Malohia, where we created some additional types of home and community-based services, and also at Kapiolani Community College as well. So it's been over 40 years of work in this particular area. And over time, it became quite clear to me that we have a lot of people focusing on developing services for aging from a sick care perspective in terms of nursing homes, Meals on Wheels, and that sort of thing. But we needed to get more attention to this whole area of aging as an asset to the community. Okay? An asset to the community. That we have a lot of possibilities yet, and this is what I wanted to emphasize with this notion called the active aging perspective. So, as I mentioned, we talk about sick care, right? Older adults is sick. Older adults is declining, disabled, decrepit, disengaged, dependent, deficit, destitute, doctored, diagnosed, diminished, demented, and diseased. Well, you're not any of those, right? But if we got young people only thinking about us that way, we get many young people say, you know, I don't want to go into gerontology. I don't want to take care of just older people. They don't realize that this whole population is different, right? So we need to look at aging as an asset to the community, right? Asset to the community. We're filled with wisdom, right? We can maintain engagement. We've got experience. We can build communities. We have an enormous amount of talent. Lifelong learners. We can be committed. We can continue to contribute. We can be creative and sage and mentors, right? And so this is a positive way of looking at older adults. And so in a sense, what I'm trying to suggest is that even at our age, we need to not have people simply say, at your age, at your age. In other words, you shouldn't let the creativity flow, right? And we should push back against some of that kind of thinking, right? Here's the thing. I wanted to share just an idea with you. And there's a difference between what we call lifespan and health span. Okay, two different words. Lifespan and health span. Lifespan is how long we expect to live, right? But life expectancy, right? Health span is another word, and it means the amount of the time that we expected to live in a healthy state. Okay, and when we talk about health span, we're talking about the ability to eat and bathe and dress and groom and feed and toilet ourselves by ourselves independently and be able to do other things. There's a difference between those two concepts in terms of the number of years of difference. The USA, lifespan is running around 77 years, health span 69 years. 8-year difference. That 8-year difference is the time that you are in a nursing home, the time that you are disabled. Okay? Got that? Korea, 7.7 years. China, 7 years. Japan, 6.9. It's all running about the same. Keep that term in mind. So the goal is to see whether or not we can make these two numbers match so that your health span is equal to your lifespan. The goal, think of this line here. You're born here, okay? 0, right? Let's say you die here. Let's say that's 100, theoretically, okay? So and this is the amount of functioning that you have, your ability to eat and bathe and dress and groom and feed and toilet yourself, okay? So when you're very, very young, as an infant, of course you're going to be very dependent. So you can't do a lot of things. So you're down here. By the time you're maybe about 10 years old, you're about here. You can do a lot of things to the point where you say, well, I don't have to listen to my parents anymore, right? But, okay, so you remain relatively well, and then we don't take care of ourselves, and we take the slippery slope down, right? And die possibly prematurely, or face a lot of health problems along the way. The goal is to keep that line healthy up until our natural lifespan. We're not going to live forever, folks, right? We know that. But can we live in a healthy state up until our natural lifespan, followed by perhaps immediate death? Doesn't sound so, glorious in that sense, or attractive in that sense, but that's reality. So the goal is to live long and to die short. To live long and die short. You don't want to live long and die long. 15 years in a nursing home. The quality probably is not going to be good. If you can continue to maintain activity, remain engaged, remain healthy, up until your natural lifespan, followed by perhaps something that is catastrophic, short-term, and then death. Okay? That's our goal. That's my goal. Okay? So how do we do that? We're talking about successful aging. You need to remain physically active with a mentally stimulating lifestyle. Okay? Strong social engagement. That means if you lose friends, you've got to reconnect. One of the big concerns that we have has to do with isolation and loneliness. Okay? Loneliness is very, very corrosive. Very corrosive. It is more corrosive than obesity, more corrosive than smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. So if you do lose loved ones you need to reconnect. Okay? We need to have purpose and meaning, and we need an environment that supports our lifestyle. So if we can do that, our goal of reducing the difference between lifespan and health span can be achieved, and we can try to get this point of achieving long life and a short death. Okay, that's the goal from the perspective of gerontology and active aging. Okay, now I'm just sort of sharing with you just some concepts here. Okay, when we think about the life cycle, usually we say, well, we've got childhood, we've got midlife period and childhood period, let's say 0 to 20. We've got work to do, having to do with the education of the child, the socialization of the child. We're dealing with immaturity, dependency, and so on. And by the time we're 21, 60, we're independent, we're mature, we're earning a living, we're working. And then we tend to then forget this encore period, and that the community and even policy in general tend to look at older adults at that point. We forget this middle period and say, all right, we're talking about gerontology, so we're talking about sick care at that point, talking about people having to deal with health challenges, leaving their affairs in orders, dealing with health, losses and death and dying, and those sorts of things. What we forget, however, is that we've been blessed. We have a longevity benefit, a dividend of 20 to 30 extra years. One guy once told me, Cullen, I'm 62, and I think most of us are past that age, right? Most of us. He said, I'm 62. At 65, I'm going to start collecting Social Security. I probably have about 20 to 30 years to live. But you know, Cullen, I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know what to do with my life. And what we want to have people realize is that this is an encore period. We've been given a gift of 20 to 30 years, bonus years, for self-enrichment, personal growth, creativity, purpose, and to leave a legacy. Question is, what are you living for? Okay. What is it? How can you use this gift, basically? When I talk about active aging, and we'll do this fairly quickly, usually when you go to a pre-retirement seminar today, put on by the state or some large corporation, they will provide you with some information with regards to how much Social Security will be providing you. They will provide you with some information about how much Medicare will cover, or if there's any company benefit, how much that will be. Two things will be shared with you: finance and health benefits, and that is probably about it. That's not enough, however, because people will walk away and say, I need more. I need some guidance about what am I going to do with this 20 to 30 year bonus that I have. When you graduate from high school, think about it. When we graduate from high school, before we graduate from high school, we're looking at our careers, and we have a vocational counselor. We have an SAT test, a scholastic aptitude test, that helps us determine whether or not we're vocationally, mechanically inclined, or academically inclined, whether or not we should go to a community college or university, or maybe join the Army or a technical school. And then we've got some counselors that can help us along the way. We've got different kinds of programs that can give us some experience, right? Even the military can provide some of that. But pre-retirement seminars that just focus on finance and health benefits is necessary but insufficient. It's not enough. It's not enough. So, what we have here, we've got 11 different things that we're talking about. And so from purpose, physical fitness, medical fitness, nutritional, financial, consumer protection, mental fitness, social, recreational, emotional, and fourth age planning. Fourth age planning refers to one's plans for the latter stage in our lives that we hope will be a very, very short time, but if we can plan for that in terms of death and dying, that's a gift even to our children, right? Rather than leaving things in a mess. So let me sort of just share with you some of these different things. Focusing initially, when we talk about purpose, for example, why are you here? Right? Why are you here? And I'll go over some of these more specifically with regards to purpose later. But second is physical fitness. And this is not a session to talk to you about what kind of exercise to do or the importance of it, or what specific exercise you should specifically focus on. But exercise should be a part of your daily life. If you want to live long and die short, this has got to be incorporated. And it's not just one type of exercise. You know, there's balance exercise, there's stretching exercise, there's cardio, there's strength exercise as well. You got to keep moving, right? If you don't, there's something called sarcopenia, which is the actual loss of muscle mass. Okay? When you start losing muscle mass, the likelihood of balance, likelihood of falls increases. Okay, so you must incorporate exercise as your part of your day. I enjoy swimming. I swim about maybe 4 times a week, about a half a mile. And I listen to music while I swim. So it's you know, in a pool, so it's just a black line, you know, underwater. So it's obviously kind of boring. But if you listen to music, it's pretty enjoyable. So that's my joy. Medical fitness, lower your risk. As we age, we will have health issues, high blood pressure, cholesterol, you name it, right? We need to work with our physician as a partner and be on top of these risks, right? Okay. Watch your weight. Nutritional fitness. We need to eat for the long haul, right? And there's some basic principles. Again, this is not a presentation on nutrition per se and the specifics of nutrition per se, but there are some basic things that we are all familiar with in terms of the amount of fat that we eat, the amount of canned foods that we eat, or the sugar, right? And we just need to make certain that we incorporate some of those into our daily eating habits and eat not for the short term, but for the long term, right? Financial fitness, watch your cash flow. Consumer protection, beware of scams, of abuses. And there's much of that goes on all the time, and we need to be aware of this. And there are information out there that can help us, both through the Office on Aging, State and County Office on Aging, the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs has an enormous amount of information that's available, and I can share some others with you as well. Mental fitness, challenge your brain. One of the things that we're quite aware of right now with this whole field of neurology is that we either use it or we lose it. Okay? Use it, and it seems like just a cliche in a sense, but we do know that there's something called neurogenesis, which means that the brain actually has the ability to regenerate. And there are people that have lost part of their brain, and the other hemisphere is able to relearn many of the things that was lost. Okay, this is called neuroplasticity. So these are terms that are coming out of the whole field of neurology, because these are things that have been determined to actually be occurring. Okay, and so this is all related to this importance of challenging your brain. Okay, social fitness, we talked about that briefly. Staying connected, find your tribe, find people that you feel comfortable with and that can be supportive of you, particularly when losses do occur. Okay? As I mentioned, loneliness is very, very deadly. It's more deadly than obesity, more deadly than smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. This thing is always very, very important that we stay connected. Okay? Emotional fitness, laugh out loud. One friend of mine suggested that we need to find a child in us, right? So that the whole idea of, we've got to be able to express ourselves and learn how to not simply be whom others think we should be. When people tell you just act your age, or when women are told that they should be second class and not be allowed to creatively expand their own horizon, that's being put down, right? And minority groups have had that kind of feeling where people begin to accept what others have defined them as, and they accept that as their definition of themselves. And so consequently what happens is that you become less than what you are capable of being. Okay? But here what we're talking about is just lightening up and laughing out loud and enjoying life along the way. So in a sense, this is stress reduction. Stress reduction, right? The stress is another corrosive factor, just like social isolation. Okay, so here, this is also important. Recreational fitness, find a child in you and show, because that allows you to remain creative and having a joy to live. And then fourth age planning, fourth age plan and legacy. Plan for the fourth age, which means that there will be chronic disabilities that crop up. There may be a need to set aside your will and your estate and do some of that type of planning. And doing that, obviously, will make life complete. Okay, let me get back to this whole concept of purpose, which I think is probably, from my perspective anyway, quite important. Finding purpose, finding meaning. What gets you up in the morning? There was a book by, what was his name? Man's Search for Meaning. Who knows that book?
Oh, Viktor Frankl.
Viktor Frankl, I'm sorry, thank you very much. Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, which was about Dr. Frankl's experience in being in a concentration camp and during World War II, and seeing how people that had lost faith and lost meaning to live, the will to live, because they did not have anything to live for, were more likely to die. Okay? And he created a whole psychiatric therapy program called logotherapy around trying to assist people to find purpose in their lives, find their meaning in life. Okay? And you need to ask yourselves, see, these are the There's a word in Japanese called ikigai. So it doesn't mean icky looking guy now. So ikigai is life purpose, but it has these components in it, you know. So the question is, you need to ask yourself, what do I love? What is my passion? Ask yourself that. What are my gifts? And every one of you has a gift. Or, you know, have many gifts. What are my responsibilities based upon what the world needs? And we may not want to think about trying to save the world, but maybe in our own corner of the world, we may be able to make a difference. What is my responsibility? What are my responsibilities based upon what the world needs? And what is my life work? What is my life work? Paid or unpaid? I'm 74 right now, on Social Security, have pension, and I don't need, my financial worries are on the side right now. And I don't have to work. I'm with a university. When they call me, I teach. They're asking me to take a group to Japan for 6 months to teach them in Japan. And that's a lot of work, because in addition to teaching, I have to make certain that, you know, if they have personal problems or if they become physically ill or anything, I need to attend to them, right? So there's a lot of personal responsibilities involved there. But there are things that are things that I can do at my age, because I've gained some amount of information and understanding with regards to what aging is all about. And I can teach them here and in Japan. And I can also work with some of my colleagues there and doing some additional work there. So I see myself as continuing to engage and continuing to work and continuing to help the next generation as much as I can until my last breath. Okay? And that keeps me alive. Okay? That keeps me going. And I'm not asking, I don't need to be paid. I mean, if I get paid, that's great. But that's not the driver. And you need to find what it is that gets you up in the morning. You know, that's what's going to hold everything together. That's why you need to watch your health, right? That's why you need to watch your social fitness and your financial fitness and your mental fitness and your emotional fitness, because then, doing so, then you can achieve your purpose. Okay? You can come in front here. No problem. So, you know, I ran into these pictures. Of course, you see people like this gentleman here, older adult, homeless, holding a can, asking for money in a wheelchair next to a freeway off-ramp. Maybe this is not our thing to get involved with something like this, but question is, what is that? Where can we put our talents to work? And then so this is another type of a picture that I saw. Okay, again, another person in a wheelchair. And then I see this other guy in Costco who's saying, "Don't forget my senior discount." Okay, so you've got this needs in the community. And then we've got people that are focused on self-enrichment. And we've got, you know, questions about where do you fit in? What do you want to do with the rest of your life? What do you want to do with the rest of your life? How can you make a difference? Right? And we can't solve all the problems of the world. This is just too overwhelming. But again, we do all have some talents and skills. The question is money. That's what's going to make everything make sense. Okay? Here's another photo. This is a boomer giving the world to the next generation, the millennium. Says, look, I'm real sorry about the condition of your inheritance, the world, Mr. Millennial. But can I still get my latte on my way out? Okay. We are leaving the next generation. We are passing on something. What can we do? Okay. So I think that part of the process of finding purpose, and I say purpose is important because it brings everything together. Because I have certain things I want to accomplish. So I said before, life expectancy in Hawaii. Well, what would you say it is? Just average life expectancy. Give me a number.
7.
Sir.
Oh, I say about 79.
79. Okay. So I got only 5 more years. Okay.
85?
Huh? 85?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 11 more years. Thank you. Okay, let's say 11 more years though. Time is ticking for me, right? Time is ticking for all of you. What am I going to do with that time? Right? I still got skills. I still got talents. I still got contacts. And I wanna be able to make sure that I leave a world for the next generation, for my children, my grandchildren, and their associates, better than I came with. Can I do it? I don't know. But if I were to spend some time doing that, I think it'll sort of provide me with some sense of direction with regards to how I'm going to spend the rest of my life. That's the point that I'm trying to make. Okay? So, first thing that we have to do is recognize that we've got this 20 to 30 year bonus. That's number one. Okay? And we can either take advantage of that longevity dividend or waste it, right? This is a gift. And we need to understand how that fits in with this whole emphasis on active aging. Then we need to do a 50,000-mile life checkup. You do that for your cars, right? We do that for our cars. We do a 50,000 mile, maybe less than that. Re-examine one's life journey. Rediscover our strengths, our passions, our purpose. Rebrand your self-identity, because you are no longer, when you retire, you're no longer your former job title, right? Guy graduates or leaves the military as a general. He walks out the door and he's just Joe Blow, right? And this one guy told me, Cullen, I used to be a who's who, man. Today, I'm a who's that. No sense of the same, status that they had before. And there's a need for all of us to rebrand ourselves, because we got this 20 to 30 year bonus. We got to rebrand ourselves. So we have to explore the possibilities and directions. Who are we without our job titles? Okay. Then we have to set goals. How do you wish to spend the balance of your time? Work, civic engagement, learning, with relations, with play, with wellness, physical healthiness, remain physically healthy. You identify your obstacles, you develop an action plan, and leave something for you to pass on. Setting goals is a lengthy process. It doesn't come overnight. Sometimes it'll take maybe 3 to 4 months. But let's say you do things in small chunks, maybe for the next 6 months. These are things that I'd like to try to do. And you'll find that they'll begin to give you reasons to get up in the morning. I've talked to some people that have told me, Cullen, I've been retired for 16 years and I am in a rut. You don't want to be in that sort of situation. And it's in part because there is no focus, no direction. It's like riding a boat without a rudder, right? So you don't want to do that. So, here's the thing. The two most important days of your life are one, the day you were born, right? The day you were born. And the second, the day you found out why. Okay? But most live their lives in quiet desperation and go to the graves with their song still in them. What is your song? Yeah? What is your song? Find your song, because that's going to charge you up. Okay? And I can't tell you what that is. And sometimes having conversation with other people will help you get that clarified. But it's an important question to ask yourselves so that your life is well worth spending. Okay? I'm going to share with you this one video. This is a musical. It's really short. It's from, what was that show? Avenue Q. Did any of you see that? It's a takeoff of Sesame Street. Oops. Check it, the bottom portion. There you go. Turn the volume up. It's called Purpose.
What is a purpose? A purpose is a direction to your life. It could be a job, a family. It could be the pursuit of knowledge or wealth. Everybody's purpose is different. The best thing about purpose is that it gives your life meaning. I want a purpose. It's that little flame that lights a fire under your ass. Purpose. It keeps you going strong, like a car with a full tank of gas. Everyone else has a purpose, so what's mine? Oh look, here's a penny. It's from the year I was born. It's a song. I don't know how I know, but I've gotta find my purpose. I don't know where I'm gonna look, but I'm gonna find my purpose. Gotta find out, don't wanna wait. Got to make sure that my life will be great. Gotta find my purpose before it's too late. Could be here, take a week, a month, a year, at a job, smoking grass, maybe at a party class. Could it be? Yes, it's fine. Something's coming. I'm gonna find my purpose, yeah. What will it be? Where will it be? My purpose in life is a mystery. Gotta find my purpose. Gotta find my purpose. I gotta find me.
from having you queue, yeah? So, so the message here is, this is probably one of the more important things I think that you need to settle on in terms of what do you want to do with the rest of your life, right? We all have a certain amount of disabilities. We all take perhaps some medications along the way, and we may have some things that we need to attend to as far as the 11 different facets of active aging. But if there's some time spent to think about what it is that you would like to do with the rest of your life, given your skill sets, given what the world needs, and finding something that can perhaps make a difference, not just for self-enrichment, but beyond yourself, in a small way. I think this will help to provide you with some direction for the next 6 months, for the next year. And then with that, then it becomes important to take care of yourselves, physically and financially and socially and emotionally and mentally and so on, right? Because then it makes sense. So the focus here, what I wanted to talk about today, don't retire. Don't just retire, rewire. Okay? Thank you very much. Any questions? Any thoughts come up to you? Yes.
Well, this may be not a very good question, but it's in my mind. I have a friend. She said the best way to live and to die is have a heart attack. And one day she had a heart attack and she died. And she was active all the time.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't know if.
Well, we don't want to plan for a heart attack, per se. we have many different ways, but that's perhaps living long and dying short in a sense, right?
So some other people say, well, we don't have to worry about nutrition. And well, if you get a heart attack, you die quickly.
Yeah. Other people have said to me, one of the, well, it's kind of morbid to think about, what disease or what condition is the best. But some have even talked about pneumonia as being something that is not necessarily a bad thing in terms, because of the process tends to be relatively fast, So I don't want you to decide to pick your pill per se, but I want you to focus on maintaining an active and engaged and contributing lifestyle, and that I think if you focus on that, then I think that other things will take care of itself. You had a question? No?
It's wonderful. Yes. Thank you for that.
How do you get a person out of being so negative?
How do you get up? Yeah, that is really a difficult one. I think sometimes it's better to try to minimize your time. It's really difficult. I really don't know exactly how to do that.
Well, my sister, she had, that they know of, 5 strokes.
Uh-huh.
But I wasn't paying attention because she always writes sloppy.
Yeah, okay.
So I thought she was just lazy and writing sloppy. But I noticed that 3 or 4 months before.
Mm-hmm.
You people want me to die. I know you do. You don't care. And it goes on and on. I tried to get her out of it. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And she picks up people she shouldn't pick up.
Yeah.
Like she'll pick up people in her life that are trying to get money. You think there's this bountiful amount of money, but it isn't so.
Yeah. Is it possible? Some people enjoy certain people's company. They might. I know of some relatives, for example, that are alone, but when their grandchildren come, they get out of their mood and they start to engage better. So I'm wondering whether or not there are ways in which you can arrange for activities or social,
Well, we've been doing that.
yeah,
She has a son,
Yeah.
but she fights it
yeah.
all the way down the line. She'll
And
chase
even
you away.
even like daycare, social daycare programs for older adults. It's not a medical service, but once you're spending time with other people, you have to get up, you have to get dressed, put on your makeup, you have to go out, and then you have activities during that time in social interaction and stimulation, and that helps with mood as well. So that might be something that might be worth considering, even if it's not all day long, but just part of the day.
My nephew and I are always, he's calling me all the time.
Yeah.
And we try to figure things out.
Yeah.
Is she under a doctor's care because
Oh, sure.
a stroke affects the brain?
Absolutely.
Could be
That's
even
That's the
dementia,
whole thing.
vascular dementia. Does she have vascular dementia? Sometimes.
I think dementia's in there also.
There might be some, there might be there, yeah.
Maybe invite her to different activities that she's, or events. Some events in the neighborhood or somewhere you can.
She's in New York.
Oh, I see, I see, yeah. But arranging for events, getting out of just being lonely and being placed in situations where she needs to talk or to engage with other people, that can be very helpful. We don't have a cure, we don't have a medication that can stop a cure or reverse Alzheimer's or dementia. But these are things that can certainly help making caregiving much more.
We can't get her to participate in these things. Oh, what are you trying to find out if I'm crazy? Is that what you're up to? She hits everything on the negative side.
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah.
We try to beat her at the punch, my nephew and I.
Yeah.
Like I have to stay out of it.
Yeah.
Because you got two people feeding, it's not good.
Right. Is there somebody that she listens to? Maybe a physician or a brother or somebody else in the family that.
I'm a brother.
Oh, you're the brother. Yeah. But I have a question back there.
Yes.
Yes.
Given a choice between living independently and going into a
Facility.
facility like this, what are the pros and cons, and what would you do?
I think we need to ask people here, right?
Have any studies been done about the advantages?
Advantages
Either
and
way.
disadvantages. How many of you are living here? Are you happy here? Are there some disadvantages that you? What?
I'm an artist.
You're a what?
I'm an artist.
You're an artist, okay?
And I'm so nice here. The weather is nice, everything. So I cannot work by myself. And more like I like the nature.
Yes.
The nature is so wonderful, and I can concentrate on my work.
You can concentrate on your work?
I cannot.
You cannot.
It's so nice.
So nice. So you need to get outside of here.
Yeah, I have to go.
Go outside. Yeah, okay.
And so.
How about
I have
yourself?
a question regarding polls, from the doctor. If a person, say, checks off want to be kept alive, and when you consider age and health, and it becomes a family decision, how would you deal with something like that?
If a person wants to be kept alive, regardless of cost or regardless of outcome,
how would you deal with that?
yeah, there's a need to, I guess, respect that person's wishes. Yeah.
Can a physician have a say in it?
Probably, if something is actually written down, it would be pretty tough for the physician to say, to have a contrary opinion. That would be difficult. Now, if nothing is written, then this is where you want to get the physician's opinion, and sometimes, more of a interdisciplinary opinion where you get maybe even a minister involved and look at, other considerations in order to come up with the most humane decision. That becomes, sometimes there's conflicts within the family, of course. Some people say yes and no. And this is why something's written in black and white, probably it's best just to follow respect that. Yeah. Yes.
I have a question regarding if you have any recommendations for books where seniors can find purpose.
Okay, I brought some of the like you mentioned that. I'll get back to your question later on. Okay.
I'm a caregiver, by the way.
On caregiving.
No, I'm a caregiver.
Okay.
So I'm just taking notes for my mom.
On active aging. Okay. See, in the area of in terms of senior information handbooks for older adults. Now, you folks are all in here, so most of your services are attended to, so that's not too much of a challenge. In the community, people that need services for nursing homes and Meals on Wheels, assisted transportation, adult daycare, and so on, there's a handbook that the city puts out, Senior Information Handbook. It's on elder services. It's like a phone directory of different services, and it's focused on aging as a care, right? All these different services, and they're important. So that's available through the city and county of Honolulu. What we did when I was working on this a couple of years ago, and I have about 6 copies here right now, which I can share, was we said, okay, we have these handbooks for aging from a disability standpoint, but what about the boomers, the pre-retirees, the active agers that don't need to know where the nursing home is, or don't need adult daycare right now, but would like to find out things that they need to know about in terms of places where they could work, or where they can learn, or where they can volunteer, and that sort of thing. And there was nothing available. So, can you bring me a copy of?
Yeah.
Just one copy. So we created this handbook, and it's called the Hana Ho, of course, means encore, right? Making the best of your encore years. And this is online on the St. Francis website. And basically what we have is a whole variety of different kinds of services that and programs that are available in the area of education, employment, financial wisdom, health and wellness, housing assistance, intergenerational activities, life skills, recreation, and we even have some information about senior discounts in there, So we try to put things together that can be useful, not for the person looking for a nursing home, but for people that are still interested in maintaining engagement in the community. This is what this is all about. So this is the first one that was created, and we're hoping to build upon this and work on some more.
Useful.
Yeah. Other questions?
And how do you get a book like that?
How many of you are couples right now? Right here. One couple. You guys are not couple. One couple. So 1, 2, 3. I can give you 3.
My mom.
Okay. I brought only 6 copies here, yeah? You know what?
But if I can send away for it, you make a phone
You know what?
call
You
or-
wait in the front here. I'll get some more from the car. Okay? I'll have a copy for all of you. So since you all attended, okay? Or 1 per couple. How's that? Is that all right? Okay. Okay. So, we can give the couples. Yeah, and then the others, if you can wait by the lobby, I will come back and bring them to you.
Thank you.
Okay, you can give anybody else that you have any. Okay, and then the others can come back and I'll give
2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, 5 more?
5 more.
5 more, okay. And then 1 for KupunaWiki as well.
I just have a question for you.
Yes.
You're doing all this presentation, it sounds very useful for people, but I was wondering if you are working on a book yourself to share with others.
Actually, right now, I'm on my way to Japan, and I'm working on a research project that will take me some time. There's a major challenge having to do with aging in Japan that I'm very concerned about. What's happening right now in Japan is that Japan is depopulating. So if right now so this is a situation. Japan is at 126 million people right now. Half the population of the U.S. squeezing in the area the size of California. Okay, so it's crowded. Okay, but young kids are not having babies, and old people are just growing leaps and bounds. So you look 20 years down the road, the young babies that are born are going to be saddled with an enormous amount of taxes to pay for pension, Social Security, to carry that growing number of older people. This is going to be perhaps too much. Okay. If we shoot the projections further in the future, around by 2060, 126 million is going to drop down to about 80 million, and most of those will be older people. It may not be a sustainable society. The same problem is occurring other places in the world, like Korea, Spain,
China.
China is several more years down the road, but it is going to be affected by this. Russia is, anyway, there's countries that are already experiencing this situation where you have fewer and fewer babies. There's some statistics in what we call demography, the study of populations, where you have to have every woman has to have 2.1 children for the population to remain stable. The U.S. right now is running slightly below that, but it's not too bad, and in part it's because we've got a lot of people that are immigrants coming in, young people, right? In Japan, they're not too excited about having too many immigrants coming in. So the numbers continue to drop. If the numbers continue to drop, there's a possibility in about 100 years for society to actually collapse. Okay. So part of my work in Japan is to look at about 10 different things that Japan is doing to reverse this situation, just so that the society continues. Okay. So that's some of the stuff that I'm going to be doing with the East West Center. Okay. But anyway. Yeah, there probably will be some other things that I'll be working on, right? Any other questions? Yes.
Because I know what I want to do
Yes.
for my future.
Yes.
But I'm doing now.
Yes.
But still, I'm studying by myself because I need someone help.
Mm-hmm.
But I can get information, who is going to help me to do this kind of stuff. So I need more like information connection to the people.
Yes.
But I'm actually new here. So today I come here, I couldn't find the place. So now,
Okay.
so like this. So how can I connect with the people
Okay.
to find out what I need someone help?
Yes. Good question. So we'll get you a copy of this booklet. There are also people that are focusing on life planning, focusing on helping you to see what it is that you specifically need, right, in terms of the kinds of needs, and help you find ways of making those connections. So there are not too many people involved in this type of work right now, but they're beginning to appear. So our booklet will provide you with some of that information, okay? All right. So afterwards, since you don't have a copy, if you wait by the lobby, I will run back to my car and get you some. Okay? Any other questions? Now, going back to your one question here that I've been kind of wondering about myself. Personally, myself, I don't think that I would be living in a residential facility like this, although this is a positive environment. You know, because as you get older, perhaps, you know, you don't want to spend all your time cleaning and vacuuming.